Sports Network, the NFL show is brought to you by Manscaped 3.0, the new Lawnmower 3.0. Make sure it offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. So, Sam, have you tried it on the family jewels yet, the Manscaped?
I mean, it's a good product. I mean, for what we got for free, right? Because it was promotional stuff. But it's a great little kit we got. And if you go to manscaped.com, use promo code TGG20 for 20% off the first order and free shipping. It's a great product, and it's a better price than what any you'll get from the stores. Then you get 20% off free shipping. It only makes it that much better.
Yeah, so you go to manscaped.com, promo code TGT20, and your balls will thank you. So, Sam, today we're going to look at your NFL power rankings and see if you got this right or not. I'm going to see if I can pick it apart a little bit. So, when we look at the NFL power rankings, we are going to start off with who number one is. Did you want to pull the thing up, or do I need to pull it up?
No, I can pull it up.
All right, go ahead and pull it up, and we'll look. Your number one on here. You're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so this surprised me. You've got the Kansas City Chiefs at number one, the Pittsburgh Steelers at number two, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number three. The Steelers are undefeated. The Chiefs have a loss to the Raiders, which to me, at home, is a bad loss. Why do you put the Chiefs at number one over the Steelers?
I'll tell you, but you can click on the thing to add it to the screen? It's up there. You should be able to see it.
All righty. But, so
I have.
Why the Chiefs over the Steelers?
Kansas City Chiefs defense is not bad. The Chiefs are the reigning Super Bowl champions. There's a lot of offensive pieces there. I came back from last year. I think all our key offensive pieces are still there. And if you ask me a head-to-head match, I know the Steelers have a very good defense. But I still think Kansas City's the team to beat in the AFC. I think they're the team to beat in the NFL right now. With Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and all the offensive weapons they have. Even against a team like Pittsburgh, I think Kansas City could score more points than the Steelers can keep up with. I think they're the best team in the NFL right now.
Well, my problem is this. I could say that they might be the best team in the NFL right now. They probably are. But that loss to the Raiders really sticks out. And with the Steelers, you've got wins over the Titans and the Ravens the last 2 weeks. I know the Chiefs have already beaten the Ravens. But when I look at that, I mean, I have a hard time putting Kansas City number one over Pittsburgh just because of the Raider loss. Because that Raider loss was at home, and they gave up a lot of points to the Raiders.
That's true. They had that one really bad week against the Raiders. But at the same point, they destroyed Baltimore, who had a chance to beat Pittsburgh. It came down to the final play for Baltimore offensively, where they couldn't complete a touchdown in the end zone. So they had a chance to beat Pittsburgh, while as Kansas City went out there and just torched Baltimore straight up. So to me, it's not as big of a gap for me. It's not as big of a deal that they had the one loss to the Raiders. It's one bad game. I think they rebounded quite well.
All right. Number three, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number four, the Seattle Seahawks. Number five, the Baltimore Ravens. All of these are kind of questionable right now. Tampa Bay struggled with the Giants. Seattle continues to win. Defense not that great. I think they did play much better against San Francisco. Most of those points were given up late in the fourth quarter. The Baltimore Ravens at number five. I think that Baltimore is a little bit high there. When we look at 3 and 4, Tampa Bay and Seattle, what's the reasoning for having Tampa Bay ranked over Seattle?
The defense, for the most part.
The defense. All right.
Yeah, because they have one for Tampa Bay. They have a top 10 defense in the NFL right now. Seattle clearly doesn't. I know they played well against the 49ers. They're going to get Jamal back sooner or later. They're going to have a better right now. But if you had to ask me, is Seattle a top 15 defense in the NFL right now? I don't even know if they're in the top half of the league.
All right, I could go with that. Number five, the Ravens. Number six, the Saints. Number seven, the Tennessee Titans. 8, the Green Bay Packers. 9, the Indianapolis Colts. And when I look at this, all these teams have flaws. With the Baltimore Ravens, I mean, Lamar Jackson's a flaw to me. He can't beat you throwing the ball. I would actually rank the Saints ahead of the Ravens right now.
Yeah, see, I was going back and forth on that because of what's happened with Lamar Jackson, how he struggled against Pittsburgh and against Kansas City. So basically against the top competition he's played so far this year. At the same time, the Saints, I mean, like you said, they're both flawed teams. There are some issues here. And week to week, New Orleans defense, I know they played pretty well this past weekend, but that New Orleans defense has not played well the full year. Baltimore's defense, on the other hand, is really good. I kind of usually lean towards the teams with the stronger defenses for the most part, with the exception of some teams that have really good quarterbacks.
All right. We look at the Tennessee Titans. There has to be a lot of concern here. You had a close loss to the Steelers, The Cincinnati Bengals, though, basically dominated them.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, what didn't feel like a very close game whatsoever. And that was with Derrick Henry performing fairly well. And Ryan Tannehill didn't have a horrible game either. He didn't have a great game, but he didn't play horribly. And when you look at it, the numbers Tennessee put up, you would think, well, this should be a game they should have won. Joe Burrow just outplayed them. And frankly, that defense for Tennessee has been a big issue. They are so flawed defensively. I would say they're like Seattle, or maybe even worse than Seattle at this point in terms of what they're capable of.
Yeah, number 8, the Green Bay Packers. Number 9, the Colts. When we look at those two teams, the Green Bay Packers beat up the Texans, but bookended around that were two bad performances where they got dominated by Tampa Bay. And really, Minnesota took care of them pretty good, too. They still have issues stopping the run. And now this week, it looks like the top 3 wide receivers are going to be out for the Packers.
Yeah, they just can't seem to win here. They got between injuries and then the defense not holding up against the run. They've had so many issues there. Of course, I still give them a lot of credit to Aaron Rodgers, and I put a lot of faith in Aaron Rodgers. But at some point, you have to wonder, is this just so flawed as a team that it's so much of an obvious solution that people can just figure it out and go with it?
You got the Colts at number 9. I would actually have the Colts ahead of the Packers right now, Sam. I think the Colts are a lot better defensively. They can run the ball. Phillip Rivers has played well as of late. The offensive line, I think, is better than Green Bay's. So I think really when we get down here and you get past, hell, really number 4, and there's question marks with number 4 and number 3. I mean, there's question marks with 2. I mean, the only team here there's no question marks really with are the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, wait. You think that's bad? Wait until you get to around 13 or 14. It's going to be even worse when we get to that point in the list. But for now, I still have the Packers ahead of the Colts because Phillip Rivers has had 2 really good games. They come against bad defenses. If he does it another week, obviously I'll flip it around and move them up much higher. But to me, I'm not buying the new Phillip Rivers. I'm not buying that he's turned the year around yet. I don't believe in that. I think he's played 2 bad defenses and performed well against them. We'll see if he can do that against a good defense this coming week.
All right, the number 10, the Chicago Bears. And, I mean, they did play well against New Orleans. They had a chance to win it. The defense is carrying the team. If Nick Foles ever gets it in gear, they may be able to make a run at the Packers. But, you know, there's issues there. Number 11, the Buffalo Bills, who 3 weeks ago looked like one of the best teams in the NFL. Now 2-2 over the past 4 weeks, and now they're being challenged by the Miami Dolphins possibly.
Yeah, I wouldn't close the door on the Dolphins coming up and taking the division lead from them because they've really had 4 bad games in a row. And Josh Allen's had 4 bad games in a row. And really, once you get past, I'll say I have faith in the top 8 teams because of the quarterbacks largely that are with them. Once you get past 8, my faith really starts to drop off because you have quarterback questions with Indy and with Chicago. And Buffalo right now, I wouldn't put questions past Josh Allen because Josh Allen has not played well at all in the past 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think you still got to have questions about Kyler Murray. The Cardinals are 5-2. The teams they've beaten have not been great. They've scored at least 30 points in each of the past 3 games, and they did get the overtime win against Seattle. So I will give you that. So it looks like they're trending up, but still, this is basically Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins and then a bunch of other guys.
Yeah, they don't have much there. Larry Fitzgerald is usually a very reliable player. Them is clearly past his prime. Well, he was past his prime last year, but he's much more past at this point. And defensively, without Chandler Jones, you got an aging Patrick Pearson back there. Isaiah Simmons has not necessarily been that involved in the defense this year outside of that 1 interception. There are so many questions on this team, which is why I don't have them in the top 10, despite the fact they're 5-2. I think there's a lot of issues here, and we'll see as the season plays out.
Number 13, the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a team I think still a year or 2 away, but I think they're definitely in the running for a playoff spot just because they can run the ball. The defense has played better as of late. And when you look at them and you look at Miami, I think the problem with Miami at number 14 is I don't think they're going to be able to beat Buffalo because I don't think Tua is ready to do that yet. I mean, we may have questions about Josh Allen, but Tua is a rookie. And to me, he's not a Joe Burrow type rookie, a guy who's like physically and mentally ready right now. I think he's a guy as the season progresses will get better and better. But I think Miami tops out at probably what, 8-8?
I would think so too. Instead of 9-8-8. Because we saw they didn't put the ball in his hands quite a lot in that first game. Whereas with Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, they kind of went out throwing. And Tua gets held to under 100 passing yards in his first game. They're kind of taking it very cautiously. I don't know if they'll just open the floodgates in the coming weeks and let him really play out and use the full playbook. But for now, they seem hesitant to let him go out there and just ball. So I'm going to hold them back because, again, the quarterback situation is pretty interesting there. And also, they don't have an elite defense. They have a solid defense, but not an elite one. So that kind of keeps them in the mid-range here for the NFL power rankings.
All right, number 15, the Los Angeles Rams. And I think the question here is Jared Goff. I mean, he committed 4 turnovers in week 8 as they dropped their second game in 3 weeks. I don't know here. I think there's issues. I think there's issues on your article because you got Carlos Dunlap going to them and joining their defensive end rotation.
Huh. I wonder how that happened. There's issues in the article. I'll fix that later.
All right. But, yeah, you look at the Rams and the 49ers. If it wasn't for the fact there was injuries, the 49ers should definitely be above the Rams. I think the Rams' defense is good, but Jared Goff is going to be the thing that kills them. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. I just think he's average. He might be slightly above average someday. And I know that I talked him up earlier in the season. But let's face it, when he's playing good, you've got to say it. When he's not, you've got to say it. And right now, he's turning the ball over way too much.
Yeah, he's very streaky, and he gets into the head, or I think gets around his head a little bit too much at points in time. So you can just see it. When the lights go off and everything starts going wrong, it goes very far wrong for Jared Goff. I don't have a ton of faith in him ever being an elite quarterback. I think he'll just be an average QB for the next 10 to 12 years because of his ability. I mean, we've seen him succeed with the weapons he has there in LA, but I don't have any faith in the Rams being a truly elite team or a contender this year.
All right, the 49ers at 16, I expect that to drop. You've got Jimmy Garoppolo now out at least 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Wasn't that the injury he had before?
Yeah, he just re-aggravated it, apparently.
And remember this, when that happened before, what did I tell you? A high ankle sprain is very serious. It usually takes 6 to 8 weeks. I think they brought him back too soon out of desperation. Now you got George Kittle, who's out roughly 8 weeks as well. They're already rolling without Bosa and Sherman. I think injuries are going to be what keeps this team out of the playoffs. Right now, this is a 7-9 team, I think, at best, when you look at the injuries.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to miss their key players in Garoppolo and Kittle for so long. Even when Garoppolo's been healthy, he's been questionable in terms of his play. He's had, like, off and on games all year long. And with Nick Mullins or TJ Beathard at quarterback, I don't trust them to go in there and get enough points to make this team a playoff team. And this would have still – I know they wouldn't have been as good as they were last year, but without the injuries, this still would have been possibly a 10-win team. Now with all these injuries piling up, you're probably going to miss the playoffs.
Oh, I think what we saw with the injuries they had and as competitive as they were, I think this is better than a 10-win team if they stay healthy all year. I know I was down on them at the start of the year, but they've done a lot of great things with all these injuries just to stay in the conversation. Number 17, Carolina. Number 18, Cleveland. I don't know how Carolina gets ahead of Cleveland, but, I mean, Matt Rule's done a good job there. I think they've already won as many games as most people thought they would, and that was without Christian McCaffrey. The question is, can they make a push when McCaffrey comes back?
I can get a couple wins here, and he's supposed to come back, I believe, this week. He was practicing today, so it sounds like he's finally getting back to playing. There's an opportunity for them to make a push here. I don't believe they'll make the playoffs. I don't think they will. I don't think the Browns will make the playoffs either, honestly. They're probably going to end up losing out quite a bit here towards the end. And the Panthers, they just have an unfortunate stretch of games because I'm looking at their schedule right now. And they play the Chiefs, and then it's the Buccaneers, the Lions, the Vikings, and then the Packers and Saints in 2 of the final 3 games of their season. So they play a lot of teams that I already mentioned top 15 or in the top 10. So probably not going to make a playoff push if you're the Carolina Panthers.
All right, the Cleveland Browns, I think the question is Baker Mayfield. And you ask how much patience do they have with Baker Mayfield? My question to you is, who's the backup?
It's Case Keenum.
So I'm telling you this, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I would seriously consider Case Keenum now. Case Keenum did take a team to an NFC championship game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he got the Vikings playing ball a couple of years ago. The issue is that he hasn't been that kind of player since then, so I understand why you're hesitant. But at the same point, I would consider playing Case Keenum in the second half of an upcoming game here, just see what he's like in the offense, really get him a feel and see how he plays on the field. Because if Case Keenum get hot and pull like a Nick Foles kind of run towards the end of the year, why not play him instead of Baker Mayfield?
All right, then we get to the Minnesota Vikings at 19. They're 2-5. I have no problem with you having them that high. I would actually consider putting them above Carolina and Cleveland right now. If you're going to power rankings, this is a dangerous team. And I think when you get down to 19, 20, 21, this is the last team I want to play if I'm one of those guys in the top 5 or top 10, because with Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins is always possible to get hot. Mike Zimmer's a good football coach. I think Minnesota probably ends up 7-9, but they're going to beat some people. People don't expect them to beat. Hell, we just saw it last week.
Yeah, I think they're going to rebound really well despite having that terrible start to the year. For all things that you just mentioned, Mike Zimmer's a really good head coach. And you look at it, you got Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins can maybe turn his year around. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but you still have Adam Thielen, and you got Justin Jefferson, who's been a revelation as a rookie. You have the weapons offensively here to make a difference, and even defensively. You still have Anthony Harris, Harrison Smith, Eric Kendricks. You have pieces defensively that might be just enough to hold some teams in check and let your offense score 35 points per game.
All right, next up, we get the Philadelphia Eagles at number 20 at 3-4-1, and they're firmly in control of the AFC or NFC East, which is really scary. And they played sloppy against Dallas, still good enough to win by double digits just because Dallas is that bad. I think the question here is Carson Wentz. If he can just not turn the ball over, they'll be fine. Hell, I think if Carson Wentz just holds it to 2 turnovers a game, they're going to win the division.
Yeah, really. If he just doesn't throw the game away, they have a chance to win the division. I would give them the lead by far. So they have the best coach. And I would argue if Andy Dalton doesn't come back for a little while, they have the best quarterback in that division right now. Even if Carson Wentz is turning the ball over, I still think he's the most capable of leading an offense down the field and scoring when you need him to. So we got that combination. Miles Sanders will hopefully get healthy. He could be one of the best running backs in that division as well. You have an opportunity to have the best team, even though you might have 6 wins on the year, but I still think you're going to have the best team by far in this entire division.
All right, number 21, the Detroit Lions. Number 22, the Cincinnati Bengals. I really think the Bengals should be ahead of the Lions. I really do. When I look at this, if the Bengals played the Lions right now, who you betting on, Sam?
I've never bet on Cincinnati, Mike.
Yeah, you would. You're not betting on Cincinnati right now. You're betting on Joe Burrow. I would also say this. I watched the Bengals play the Eagles. I can see the Bengals being all the way up to 20. And after they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2 weeks and give them their first loss, you will finally start to realize what I'm saying is true.
It won't happen, but you know what, Michael? I'll give you credit for going out there. You've never picked the Bengals to win all year, I think, except for like week 1. So I'll give you credit for pulling that one. But,
and they're going to beat the Steelers. Joe Burrow is just going to destroy the Pittsburgh Steelers with probably 480 passing yards.
So when he throws 2 interceptions and you lose by 14 points, I'm not going to be able to go on the show and just bring this up for like a week.
Well, this is the thing. Not if he throws for 480 yards.
You could still win. You could still find a way to lose the game if he throws for 480 yards. You know that.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter how many yards he throws. The Bengals, they could always find a way to lose a game. Number 23, the Denver Broncos. 24, the LA Chargers. I would assume the difference there is the game that was just played. I still think the Chargers are a better team, but of course the Chargers can't finish a game, especially if they get a double-digit lead, Sam. The Denver Broncos and the Chargers, I think there's a good chance both of them are going to be replacing their coaches at the end of this year. And the Broncos defense, hell, they won the game because of Drew Lock in the offense. The only problem is last year we would see Drew Lock do this, and in the next 3 games he would look like a terrible 7th round or an undrafted rookie. So I think this is huge right now in Denver. What happens with Drew Lock over the next month?
Yeah, because it turns out to be, like we said, a guy who looks like an undrafted rookie for the rest of the year. You're talking about firing the head coach. That's another missed quarterback. You already tried with Paxton Lynch and you failed there. You've tried to make Brock Osweiler a quarterback in the future and you failed there. Now you're trying with Drew Lock. If you keep stacking this up, eventually John Elway's got to be the one who's held responsible for all its issues because he's the one trying to draft these quarterbacks largely. You have to hold him and the rest of the organization, the rest of the people in the organization making the decisions at that position accountable. Because you missed those so many QBs right now. You're going to change your head coach already. We already know Fangio's done. But
yeah,
it comes down to you got to change who's making a decision at quarterback.
And the sad thing is this. Fangio may not be that bad of a coach. It's the guys making a decision on who they're going to bring in at quarterback. I mean, we started off we have Joe Flacco back, Drew Lock, Paxton Lynch. I mean, none of these are on Vic Fangio. So he can only play with what he's got. So Drew Lock has got to step it up. If he steps it up, he might be able to save Fangio's job and his. I don't see that happening, though. 24, Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. And the same thing sticks out to me. When we talk about comparing Herbert, Tua, and Burrow, the thing that stands out to me is this. I know Tua didn't throw the ball a lot, but he didn't turn the ball over and his team won. Burrow doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Justin Herbert seems to make 2 or 3 critical mistakes almost every game, and he does it with double-digit leads and helps his team lose the game.
Yeah, that was not more evident against Denver when he threw 2 interceptions there. One was a really bad one. They were driving in to score, and he kind of threw it up, and it was supposed to be, I guess, a jump ball for the wide receiver, going right to the defensive back who had all the leverage in the world. So if you're Justin Herbert, you just need to tone it down a little bit. Don't make critical mistakes like this when you're in positions to win football games. And maybe he'll learn next. Like, we've seen rookies in the past, even guys like Andrew Luck come in and they throw a bunch of interceptions their rookie year, and they work past it. So maybe he'll get by it. But right now, Herbert's still having an impressive rookie year. The game against Denver was his first 2-interception game of his career. So it's not like he's been throwing interceptions left and right. But we'll see if he's able to mature past this in the coming weeks.
All right, next up, the Atlanta Falcons, who I think the Falcons are kind of like the Minnesota Vikings. Just because they've got Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, they're a very dangerous team to play. And the thing that stuck out to me is the defense did play much better in their Thursday night win over the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that's been the big issue for them. They have one really good defensive performance so far, which is why I haven't jumped them so high up yet. But their defense can play like they did against Carolina week to week. I mean, this team could still finish with maybe 6 wins, probably not 7 wins, but maybe 6 wins. And the defense improves because they have offensively all the firepower they need.
All right, number 26, we get the Houston Texans. That's basically we've got Deshaun Watson. And as you put, he's doing everything he can to save the team. The season's over, though. But I still expect the Texans to pull an upset or two here or there just because of Deshaun Watson before this is over.
Yeah, they really opened the season on a rough note, the Houston Texans. They got some of the best teams in the NFL they had to play in the opening weeks. And Deshaun Watson's kind of rebounded. He kind of had a slow start to the year. He's gotten much better since then, which is why he's in the top 10 in my quarterback power rankings basically every week now. They have some winnable games. They play Jacksonville. I think this coming week they get Cleveland, they get New England, they get Detroit. So there are winnable games on their schedule. I think they could finish the season with 4 or 5 wins.
All right, number 27, the Washington football team. They are, from my calculations, just a half a game out of first. The scary thing is we've got a team ranked 27th in the power rankings that's a half a game out of first. Kyle Allen is serviceable, and their defense is good enough. They really could pull this off, Sam.
Yeah, it really could. Like you said, that's scary. But again, all they need to do, they already beat Philadelphia once this year. If they beat Philadelphia again, they just clean up the rest of the divisional games because they destroyed Dallas the other day. If they just clean up all the divisional games from here on out, they're going to be right there with Philadelphia because I don't see any of these teams pulling any big upsets against competitors from other divisions right now. In Washington, if you win 6 or 7 games, you're going to be right there. You're going to have a chance. This all could come down to week 16 or week 17. But right now, I think Washington's still squarely with it with Philadelphia. I do like the Eagles to win this division, but Washington's their biggest competitor right now.
All right, number 28, the New England Patriots. Cam Newton's done nothing. If Cam Newton can't do it with Bill Belichick, I think his career is over. Julian Edelman is on injured reserve. I don't think the Patriots are getting too many more wins this season. I think they top out at 5 wins. And then the question is, can Bill Belichick get a legit quarterback in New England?
Yeah, that would be the issue because they've struggled. I mean, he's struggled to find QBs somewhat. I know he got Garoppolo, and Garoppolo also is a decent quarterback. He got Brissett. Brissett's not great either, but he's probably a decent quarterback. The issues become, can you find a successor to Tom Brady? And that's not an easy mantle to hold if you're a young QB. But right now, they're in an issue because they're going to get too many wins to get Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or Trey Lance. They're going to have too many wins for that. So I don't know where they're going to get the QB from. Could be in free agency. Could be a guy like, I don't know, Andy Dalton. He's going to be a free agent. Could be Jameis Winston. Who knows? I think they're probably going to have a short-term fix before they find a long-term solution.
Well, I would go for the Jameis Winston thing just because I think there's the best chance he could turn out to be something. I think Andy Dalton, we've already seen the best of Andy Dalton probably a couple years ago. So he's just going to be basically a gatekeeper for whoever the next guy is. I would like to see Jameis Winston there, see if he could be slowed down a little bit by Bill Belichick and maybe not throw 32 interceptions in a season. Next up, we get the New York Giants, who I think if you look at the Giants, 1-4 in their past 5 games, those 4 losses came by 14 points combined. They're still in the race. And if they can find a quarterback, who's the backup to Daniel Jones?
I'll pull it up right now, but it's got to be someone unimpressive if they haven't gone him already. Daniel Jones has just been bad the last couple of games. I don't understand how you haven't made the move, but that's because their backup QB it's Colt McCoy.
Oh, hell. You know what? Why not take a shot with Colt McCoy? Let's get off the Giants. Number 30, the Jacksonville Jaguars. No Gardner Minshew until week 9. Week 9's coming up, though, right, Sam?
Yeah, he won't be available for week 9, though. He won't be there. Instead, you got rookie Jake Luton is going to be the starting quarterback. Maybe Michael Evans serving the backup. You're not going to have Gardner Minshew for week 9, which just makes, at this point, what do you expect from Jacksonville Jaguars? Their best offensive weapon might be Gardner Minshew, and you're not going to have him this coming week. It's going to be terrible, Mike.
What was I tell you about the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets are 31-32, even below them? And I think this is all coaching. I mean, they've got talent on offense in Dallas. They've got some Pro Bowlers on defense. The offensive line is not very good. The New York Jets are just an absolute mess because Adam Gase is there. But I think this is a Gase and McCarthy issue because when I see these two teams, I don't see a whole lot of fight left in either one of them.
No, I don't either. And it sounds like Cooper Rush is going to end up being the starter for Dallas this week. So they're not sticking with Ben DiNucci. So it means Cooper Rush is probably going to be their starting quarterback when they play their upcoming game. So Dallas to me is shot. I know this is still they're still technically in it because they have 2 wins and the Eagles have 3-4-1. But to me, all the life is gone from Dallas. They have no chance. They're playing Pittsburgh this week, Minnesota after that. I don't see them getting past maybe 4 or 5 wins this year.
Yeah. So your Pittsburgh Steelers should be safe to be undefeated until they run into Joe Burrow.
That's what I'm hoping, Mike. That's what I'm hoping. But you never know. Cooper Rush, you never know. Cooper Rush might pull something off. We'll see. But
man, I'll tell you what. It's something. We got any news you want to talk about?
Yeah, the Thursday night game. Apparently, the 49ers had someone test positive today. They shut down their facility, but so far, the NFL said all hands are on deck. They're going to still go on and play this game as the expectations, but we'll keep monitoring that moving forward. So far, it seems like everything's going to work out, but you never know with this stuff, Mike. It's been so up and down this whole year. It seems like there's new news every day.
Well, they're probably not wanting to cancel a Thursday night game. The NFL has upheld its 2-game suspension of Chicago Bears wide receiver Javon Mims. Wims was suspended Monday for 2 games for punching C.J. Gardner-Johnson shortly after the Saints safety denied instigating the incident in Sunday's game. Wims appealed the suspension. So do you think 2 games is about right here?
I was surprised it was only 2 games, honestly, because when you watch the replay, he walks right up to him and sucker punches him once. Like, jump back like he's expecting retaliation, and Gardner-Johnson just sits there, and then Wims punches him again. And honestly, if I was the team, I would suspend him for even longer. So if I was the Bears, I'd be annoyed. That was a 15-yard penalty. Our offense was struggling to work all day as it was. So I would be, if I'm the Chicago Bears, I would say suspend him for 4 or 5 games for conduct detrimental to the team.
I have seen it, but I didn't really pay that much attention to it. You think we ought to watch it?
Yeah, if I can find it. Do you want me to go look for it?
Hold on. Can you see it?
No, I cannot.
You can't?
No, try taking my screen off there.
Hold on, I got it.
There you go. Yep, I see it.
All right, so let's watch this because I haven't watched it that close because it's not that big a deal to me. Here we go. Damn, it took 3 of them to get him down, though. You got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, apparently the altercation that Wim says started this whole thing occurred like 15 minutes before this actual play happened. Like, he was on the sideline for like 15 minutes before going after Gardner-Johnson after the initial instigation or whatever.
Well, what was the initial instigation?
Apparently, he pulled his mouthpiece down and threw it on the ground or something like that.
You know what's impressive here? I mean, the Saint guy just took it, and
that's what I'm saying, right?
I mean, hell, that's impressive. So
that's what I'm saying. He basically
why was Wims mad at this again?
Or the guy apparently ripped out his or pulled off his mouthpiece and threw it on the ground or something like that. I don't know. There was a little jawing back and forth all day long, but.
Well, don't these guys realize with the COVID that reaching in and grabbing a mouthpiece isn't smart? You could get infected and die, Sam.
I still don't understand why NFL players like slap or punch helmets. Like, to me, that just never makes sense.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. In real life, Wims probably wouldn't want to get in a real fight. So he does it there. He smacks a helmet. He looks cool, and then they break it up before the dude whoops his ass.
Sounds like it.
All right. Anything else before we wrap it up, Sam?
I think that's all our NFL news for today.
All right, guys. Me and Sam will be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We ought to do the show with Risley today because he wants to tell us why Belichick has been invalidated because of Tom Brady's success.
What time do you want to do that?
I don't know. What time would you be free?
Anytime after like 6, I could probably do it.
All right. I'll see if he wants to do it because we need to get Steve on here to talk about Manscaped because he's one of those ape kind of dudes and he needs, some manscaping. And I know Steve's going to watch this show too. So if you want to talk some crap about him, that'll encourage him to come on the show.
Steve, you gotta show up, man. We're ready for this debate.
Yeah, because this is the thing. Steve needs to be manscaped. There is no doubt about that. And when you think about it, it'll even pop up on the screen sometimes when you think about it, I think. So Steve needs to be manscaped. So make sure you go to manscaped.com and use the promo code TGT20 for free shipping, 20% off of your first order. Me and Sam both got it. It's great, and it gives you a clean bush to tush, Sam. Wouldn't you agree?
Are you reading this off of the script, or are you coming up with this stuff?
No, do you see me reading off a script?
I can't tell. I'm just looking.
No, I'm fine. It will make your testes the besties, though. I can tell you that. So make sure you check out Manscaped, promo code TGT20. Make sure you follow Sam Teets at Sam Teets33. You can follow me at Grueling Truth for all your election results. I'm just kidding. But do you want to go ahead and call a state for one of the candidates right now, Sam? Because everybody else does.
No, absolutely no idea. No.
All right. I'm calling Puerto Rico for Joe Biden. So you all heard it here first. All right, guys, we'll be back at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Make sure you check out Manscaped, promo code TGT20. For now, for Sam Teets, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening and watching to The Grueling Truth, where the legend